Hi, Franca-Sofia. Thank you so much for joining me. We're in our little podcast booth here, live from the Customer Success Festival in London. How are you? How have you joined today? We're nearing the end of the day. How's it been?
Yeah, I don't know where to start. It was an amazing day. So I really enjoyed all the sessions, discussions and chats and roundtables. And the day has just been amazing. I've just tried to get my head around it and wrap everything up. And
a lot to digest.
Yeah, a lot to digest and think about, right?
Absolutely. And you gave a session earlier on today. How did that go? I mean, the atmosphere here is buzzing. I can imagine it was the same for you.
Yeah, it's hard to assess your own performance or to see how it went. But I think a good sign was that people addressed me afterwards with more questions and curiosities and thoughts. So I think overall it went quite well, and it was also good to hear different approaches from different people about the same topic, right?
Yeah, because this is, I was really, really keen to have a chat with you and grab some time. So thank you for taking time out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of networking going on. It's so exciting to see. But your topic was such an interesting one, and I really wanted to touch on that in this conversation. How customer success can be a revenue driver, and like you said, everybody's got their own rhythm, their own strategies, and it will vary obviously enormously depending on the scale of your organisation, your customer base, your industry, all of that. So it's never a dull. I don't think it's ever really a dull discussion because there's always a new perspective.
Yeah, it's continuously going on.
It's not a black and white, one size fits all. That's the classic line about customer success, isn't it? Why it's probably one of the most interesting disciplines to come up, in the last 10 years. Really,
I fully agree. Absolutely.
Thank you. So we're going to unpack a bit of that about how customer success can be a revenue driver, and I want to ask you a question, and feel free to refute it. But
ask it.
Let's go. I feel like for customer success to be a true revenue driver and bring in the money, would you say true or false? It has to come from leadership.
So yes, leadership has to buy into. And it's not something that you entirely can push top down, but you need a buy-in from the top in order to make it work as an organization, right? So having said that, I at least would say that by now, after so many years of customer success being alive, especially in the SaaS business, almost every leader realized that you need some sort of customer success function. The question is just, how do they perceive you? Do they just perceive you as a supporting function, or actually someone who is driving revenue, right?
Yeah, of course.
And to be honest, the more mature organizations do look at it that you are the driving force when it comes to revenue, and not only just keeping and retaining the revenue, but actually growing the revenue, because you have the closest and most intimate relationship with the customers. And absolutely. Why not? Would be stupid to not use that to just grow them further, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it really kind of I had a conversation with Chris Dishman from Tatango a few weeks ago, and he mentioned on our podcast that customer success managers, they're on the front line of customer interactions, and they are probably best placed to know areas to drive revenue, to expand accounts. And that's actually something probably want to touch on in a bit. But since we're talking, I might as well. Customer success. There's a lot of different opinions, and I guess it depends on the size of your company, but who actually owns account expansion?
Absolutely.
If you're talking about the post-sales process, who owns upselling, cross-selling? That's quite so. It's not really. There's not really a black and white answer. But exactly, so I'm quite curious to know from you how do you think how at PlanRadar would you say that customer success in your organisation kind of approaches driving revenue from account expansion? Do you think is there a lot of collaboration? I imagine there's a lot of collaboration with sales, but is there other departments perhaps? Quite keen to know.
Yes. So also a lot to unpack there, if I may. Start from the beginning. Yeah. No, don't be sorry. It's just a lot to say about that. So first of all, who owns account expansion? That's for me part of the overall discussion. How far do you want your teams to be responsible? And I think we made there a good decision by saying sales and customer success are sitting in the same boat when it comes to revenue and when it comes to revenue expansion. So as long as it's not like new business coming in, which is for us rather sales heavy, everything which is not completely new business also has a clear customer success responsibility. So yes, our sales also close deals in the post sales, but he wouldn't be able to without the help of the customer success team. Not in all cases, but I hopefully would say in most of or a lot of the cases. So when it comes to account expansion, I do see a lot of responsibility on the customer success team to also enable the sales to hunt new business or to hunt, let's say, new business in the existing business we are not in contact with. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Russian doll type.
Yes, exactly. Because you might talk from one area in an organization, but there are other areas to uncover with the help of BDRs and so on. And the second question was, how do we collaborate and what departments do we collaborate, right? So obviously sales is one of the main collaboration points. But you should never underestimate collaboration, or I cannot even know where to start. So product, R&D, product management kind of thing. We got to loop back all the feedback we got from clients, filtered in a way to product management, so that they hear the voice of the customer. And we also have to bring back feedback from product management to the customers. We are like in between. Then we have obviously marketing. We are heavily working with marketing on campaigns, on reference programs, like on customer advocate programs, on making webinars, making success stories and cases, getting good logos in, all these things. We are also working with revenue operations and finance and data team to get processes done, to get them done in a right scalable way, to have the data and the data quality in place so that my CSMs can work with that data and automate things, predict things, forecast, use the historical data to make decisions. So that's like endless. Like I would say my main responsibility as a head is to bring those different strings together and make it smooth and to just make the whole engine as an organization will work, to be the glue from those different type of departments and to make it all come together.
And that's where the sort of strong leadership comes from, like, I guess, it's very much down to your...
And I need a buy-in there from everyone, because I cannot do it alone.
Yeah, exactly. It just won't work if the other departments aren't. And listening to that, I kind of wanted to know, are these CS-led initiatives, or would you say it's mutually led with other departments?
Depends on the organization. I've seen multiple things at the moment. I would say we have something called a growth team, where all the peers, what I have, which are significantly contributing to growth and revenue, are in. And this growth team together collaborates on those initiatives. And we are like continuously communicating and collaborating on these, trying to break the silos to go together with my peers, of course, and getting closer and closer as we go. But also, I would say there's the growth team, and then there are the supporting teams, like finance, for instance. They are supporting all of our growth teams or revenue. Like there's so many other departments that support the growth team to make it possible, right? So that's how we are structuring it currently. Did I answer your question?
No, that's perfect. That's really interesting.
Okay.
It's a real, I mean, I think you said this at the beginning. There's nothing black and white about it.
I've seen other approaches as well, but that's how currently we are doing it, and I would say it works quite well.
Yeah. I really like that. It's like a bit of give and take. And I imagine there's probably quite a lot of, when this airs, there'll be a lot of viewers that who probably might strike a chord with them because they might be going through a similar situation themselves and trying to wonder, okay, I've been wanting to do that. I haven't known the steps to do that. Moving on slightly, I think something that from a lot of my conversations I have with members of the customer success community, one thing that comes up a lot is we wanted to make the best use of data, and we want to be able to measure our, we want to be able to measure revenue growth properly. If you were speaking to perhaps a customer success manager in a random SaaS company, for example, and they wanted to know really how to I guess what kind of metrics to use to align customer success with this sort of revenue growth. And they weren't quite sure where to start out with that. And they wanted they wanted these metrics and to get some really useful data again to get the leadership buy-in. What kind of approach would you suggest to them?
Yes.
Sort of starting out.
When they're starting out, difficult to say. Especially I don't know what point of their journey they are, but I can tell how I did it or how we are doing it as an organization. So where to start definitely is to build that relationship with those departments that have those insights you need.
Okay.
For in my particular case, it's revenue operations and finance, who has the processes and the data that helps me not only getting the financial data, but also make it for me visible in a way and digestible. So to see different charts, to see different analytic dashboards and stuff like that, right? So I have a weekly chat with, I have weekly one-on-ones with revenue operations. I have regular chats with finance. You might think it's only sales or marketing I'm talking to, but no, I actually have very close collaboration with them. And I also say okay, journeys, for instance, something you want to tackle more aggressively. So help me analyzing this churn. What is it per region, per individual, per team? Could be the DACH team, the UK team, the whole Eastern Europe, whole Western Europe, whatever you're looking at, right? And then going deeper, what are the reasons why they are journeying? And then we track all those things. What are the reasons? Can we cluster them? Can we have more effective win-back strategies? Can we have the historical data predicting it maybe earlier and stuff like that? And then you ask about specific metrics.
Yeah.
I think, so I can tell you my team is heavily involved in, I would say, 3 main metrics. One is the gross revenue retention. So literally how much money can they retain from their portfolio, and the net revenue retention, which is the same thing, plus taking into consideration the upsells you're doing. So personally, our goals for the next year is to have a net revenue retention above 120% and the gross revenue retention above 90%, which are quite ambitious, depending on the region again. And, it's not black and white, but it's quite, depending on the region, either a ambitious target or something realistically to achieve. These are 2 metrics. And then we have a third one, which I look back to what I said earlier. We're sitting in the same boat in the sales. We have something like an existing business target, which we want to achieve next year. And the CSMs are part of that existing business target and are held responsible in achieving that existing business target together with sales. So that really also enforces the collaboration. And what I also like is, I know we haven't touched on it, but we also incentivize sales on that they have interest in getting their renewal in. Because if you don't do that, sales might just be interested in getting the deal in and then being out and not caring too much of the relationship.
There's no continuation.
There's no continuation. They might, a smart sales still cares because they might have an upsell opportunity there and they should keep up their relationship. But however, sometimes they just leave it on the side. But if they actually are more interested on incentivized on the renewal as well to a certain degree, they're interested that they're still our customer in a year from now, right? So they are not over-promising or overselling. They want to kind of set realistic expectations right from the beginning. And that helps a lot as well.
That's so interesting, because I think that also feeds into how, I might be taking a bit of a leap here, but rather than, traditional sales, I'm talking traditional sales, being very, very reactive and getting point A to point B, and then, I've met so many customer success managers who had that kind of role and actually wanted that bit extra. And I guess what you're describing, it sort of makes sales actually a little more proactive and thinking more closely about the customer journey, I guess. And thinking, where is this going to go?
Yes.
Rather than,
so, just to elaborate a little bit. So I would say our organization luckily has not too much reactive sales. They are proactive. But the challenge we had, is to align that the CSM team and the sales team are proactive with the same customer in the same manner. So we didn't want to paralyze the engagement. We want to jointly engage the same customer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they were not necessarily too reactive. In some cases where there was not much potential, of course, what should they hunt for, right? But for those who was a potential, we had to make sure that we are not starting to paralyze the engagement, what we are discussing, and making a joint strategic account planning or success planning or however you want to call it. And then say, okay, we together engage in that account, you from that perspective and that role, and you with these responsibilities from this perspective, and to just make sure that this alignment is happening.
I mean, standout from this conversation has been that really collaboration is the secret ingredient to be able to do this at all. And if you're not
Yes.
communicating properly and effectively with your co-workers,
Yes.
and there's a real danger, I think, obviously, like businesses not doing customer success well. It's when they sort of see it as just as a post-sales function, and not actually considering how customer success can be implemented in all manners of the rest of the organisation.
Yeah.
That just strikes me. But yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. I think just drawing to the end, I kind of wanted to something that when I'm reading about customer success and speaking to other customer success professionals, there obviously are, I think, people do engage with this kind of content. One, just want to know what kind of challenges are faced when you are kind of, I guess, when you're trying to drive revenue and customer success, particularly in a company that's sort of looking to scale. Are there any kind of pitfalls or challenges that you think maybe you've experienced in your
absolutely. I can tell you immediately. Yes. No, I run into them all the time. So one is, I would say, every department has their own priorities, but at the end, as an organization, we have to achieve all the same thing. And the question is, how do you get there as an organization, and how do we work towards that in each and every department? And us as a customer success team, we're often very dependent on other departments, but I don't want to just push priorities on other departments. Of course not, right? Because I want to make it our priority. Because if there's something in for us, then there's certainly something in for marketing or finance or whatever, right? So I always, from a leadership perspective, think it's important that the goals and objectives that are pushed down on the leaders under the C-level, let's say, that they are aligned and they are not in conflict, and they are all working towards the same goal, and you realign continuously throughout the year. Does this what I make sense, and does it align with every other peer? So I think to regularly communicate that and realign, and to make others make the time to do that is a big challenge, because everyone is always busy. Everyone has super priorities. Everything else is everyone has something which is more important at that time. And to really come back to that is a big challenge. And I don't know, that's one thing. And then obviously the bottleneck of resources, because there are teams which cannot scale as fast, or they have a hard time hiring at the moment, or someone fell out, or maybe a reason that there's just a bottleneck and you cannot fill that bottleneck too quickly. So all the dependent other departments are suffering, let's say, under that bottleneck, and we try to make the best out of it, right?
It sounds frustrating.
It can be, but you understand why that bottleneck appeared, and as long as you do something about it, it's fine. But to make that visible, like, we are all dependent on that function, so let's make that happen, and let's enable that department to enable all other departments, because we're sitting all in the same boat. So always keeping that in mind, that I don't want to hire 10 more CSMs. Maybe another department needs 1 or 2 more people, which is more effectively for the whole organization, right? To see the whole thing and not just planning in a silo.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it, actually. It's a very, very proactive way of looking at it, and healthier for the organisation in the long run.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's really, really, really useful advice, actually. I'm sure lots of people will really be quite touched by that. Final thing I want to ask you before, I don't know if people can hear, it is happy hour. There's a lot of chin wagging.
There is.
So I don't want to deprive you of that too much longer. But what do you think, looking forward to 2024, what do you think are going to be the biggest challenges that customer success managers will face next year, so to come?
Yeah. I would like to tailor it a little bit to my own own challenges, because I cannot just broadly say all customer success managers will have that challenge. Personally, we are engaged in a lot of different regions and markets. So certainly one of the challenges is to make sure that all the different maturities what we have in those markets, to get them making them all successful, because some regions are just about to grow, some are more mature, some we are having already like the super good numbers, some are still weak because we're still growing there. And as a customer success department, to put structures and processes in place that are mapping to everyone is extremely difficult, because everyone is a different situation, right? We only have, it's not that we only serve like one market or 3 countries and that's it. It's like, if you see it from a global perspective, you're going to have global challenges, and to bring those together and to find a good system that works for all is not almost impossible, but it's really a challenge to make that happen. That's for me one big challenge, and the other one is to really find and hire good talent.
Absolutely.
Always a challenge every year. I know it's not specifically to next year, but we are scaling heavily. We scaled this year heavily. We're not going to scale that much next year heavily, but still to find the right people for these positions and to do that quick enough so you don't have too many bottlenecks to deal with for too much time. That's a challenge. And the last one, and then I'm really finished, sorry. I want to definitely make more out of AI. And I wanna get the company a little bit more. I know they're looking into it, but you know how it is. Companies are always slow, and there's so many processes they have to follow, right? And I hope we're gonna make more use of that, because there's so much potential out there, I see. And I want to get started as soon as possible to integrate that more in our business, as customer success or as a company, of course.
Well, absolutely. I think the future of AI is going to be really good to watch. And I've got so many interesting things today about people, chatting with people, lots about AI as well. So yeah, it sounds brilliant. Well, again, I don't want to keep you from happy, but thank you so much, Franca-Sofia.
Thank you so much, Grace.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. And yeah, it's been a real treat to talk to you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much.
Very much.